Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. Before we start, quick disclaimer, anything we discuss is only for educational purpose, nothing is investment advice. Alright guys, hopefully everybody had a great long weekend. So we're ready for this short weekend. Started with nothing crazy, just a decent day, nothing crazy. We didn't do anything crazy. We made sure we didn't really need to trade too much. Market was volatile, up and down, range bound. So that's what I'm going to teach you today. If you're new here, I'm going to teach you that. We're going to recap all of our trades. We had some decent winners today. We did focus solely on very few setups. So we're going to focus on that. Let's start with the recap, with the introduction. So anybody who's new to our X accounts, new to our YouTube, or just new to a new member of the community. We trade a repeatable system called Ripster EMA Cloud System. The system it's just not the indicators we use, it's also the teachings, also the concepts that I teach day in, day out on X, on ripstereducation.com, or on YouTube. We trade this system in our trading community, Tanner Trade Group, one of the largest trading communities online, largest educational based community, not an alert service. So system is how you trade, setup is what you trade. So how do you find those setups? The setups you find is by planning. We plan in the pre-market. We plan in the pre-market what we're gonna trade. We plan that me and my team, we go through. I did a webinar on that, how to do a pre-market planning. We go through all the news sources. We make a plan for news plays, earning plays, index stocks, upgrades, downgrades. We make a plan. There's a lot happening today, but whatever happens, we have a plan for everything. So we create a support level, we create a resistance level. I also mark if it's an MTF trade or not, and then we create an initial game plan. We have initial bias. Our bias can change based upon if something changes at the open. Our system tells us to change the bias, we change the bias. But anyways, this is our game plan in the pre-market. We'll go through the winners and the losers from the game plan, what we traded. We'll go through that. In addition to that, we also trade something called day 2, day 3 setup. Day 2, day 3 setups is a repeatable strategy. I did a free webinar on that as well. There are some good movers on day 2, day 3. ULTA was a pretty good mover on day 2, day 3. We had a PLTR was a pretty good mover. So we'll talk about those few setups on our day 2, day 3 strategy. We provide the plan on these day 2 setups in the pre-market as well. In addition to that, we also share daily levels for ETFs, Mag 7, Magnificent 7. We share that so the traders can use Ripster EMA Clouds to trade those setups themselves. We also trade futures in the community. It's a decent day to scalp futures with our VIX strategy that we're going to discuss. So we provide these levels so the traders can trade with Ripster EMA Cloud System. With the guidance we provide. We also trade crypto stocks, coin MSTR, CLSK. Whenever Bitcoin is running, you can use Ripster Cloud System and the levels to trade them consistently. We do trade low floats, IPOs. We have a dedicated room for those in the community as well. Every morning, I'm on the voice first few hours of the market open. I'm usually on the voice first 2 hours. If it's needed, I'm usually in a voice later as well, guiding the traders through what the market is doing. If I see a setup, I guide them through that setup, long or short. That's what I'm going to try to show you. I'll show you my timestamp guidance as well. We have a lot of tools in the community. We have 3-4 option flow scanners. We have stock scanners. We have a couple of breaking news alerts. We have voice news alerts. We have halt, unhold, support resistance alerts. We have order flow, stock scanner, voice stock alerts. So we have all those scanners, the tools which are $400, $500 a month, freely available for the members of the community. So that being said, I'll show you my timestamp guidance and we'll go through each setup so that you can also learn these setups and trade on your own. So let's start. All right, so let's start with how we manage SPY QQQ today. So SPY QQQ was a pretty range bound today. It did give us a lot of setups, a long scalp in the morning and the short in the middle of the day. Then it gave us a curl setup. So I will show you everything, how the system works, how VIX, we used VIX and the Ripster clouds to trade these setups. But let's see what was our plan in the market today. So in the plan on the market today was, on the SPY QQQ, the plan was So U.S. appeal court says tariffs are illegal. Trump was supposed to speak in the afternoon. Of course, the market ran after he spoke or after his comments. The plan was simple. VIX 19, 1930 are key levels today. Market only bounce if VIX breaks under 19. Also 20 is a big resistance. If we get there, watch the semiconductors trend move and the amateur move. So I have discussed this many times, but so let's cut to the right to the point and see what we did when the market opened. When the market opened, initial candle move was bearish. You see that first 10-minute candle on SPY, that was bearish. So we were not long. SPY was actually a short scalp there. SPY was still heavy. Then what happened after that? Let's take a look here. Then I saw the bullish move coming in on QQQs. Let's take a look here. Let me show you that. Okay, so after 5 minutes, I saw that the QQQ started to bounce. It started to curl here. Look, you see this. And you see that. This is where you think about taking a long on QQQ. We actually took a long on Tesla and NVDA. I will talk about that a bit later. The reason that was happening was at the open today, VIX was dumping under 19, right? So it dumped to 1771. Look here carefully. So that's when you can take a long on QQQ, right? We know the pre-market lows are holding up. QQQ is holding up. So no longs right at the open, but after first 10 minutes, you could long QQQs. So QQQs long right here. I told the traders on the QQQ curls, QQQ bouncing, I long curls with the stops 562s. So you long that curl on that QQQs, and you take it from 562.50s, you put 550-cent stop, and you take it to the 565s. So there was enough move. If you look at the NASDAQ as well, there was enough move for us to trade it into the 10 a.m. Why was that? Because the 512 clouds were curling, and also at the same time, you can see the NASDAQ move, we were dropping on the VIX. Now, we always take profits into 10 a.m. So you see that SPY hit the MTF cloud. We know that's where you have to take most of the profit, and you put your stops right here. QQQ rejecting 3450. As long as it holds, you hold. Now you see that as soon as VIX started to bounce right here, I told the traders to exit. Let's take a look here. Okay, so we exited right here, 1043. I told the traders to exit the long. VIX is back at 18. It's a 512 fade, means it's a 512 shorts, right? So I told the traders who are, if you're shorting it, watch your entry. So 512 short setup. So let's take a look here. 512 short setup, make sure you watch your entries and stops over high of the candles. So when you short SPY here, right here, your stops are right here. You stop QQQ, your stops are right here. And VIX is bouncing from 18. So the point is, VIX is bouncing. When VIX dropped from 19, you take that long, which was this long. And when VIX bounced from 18, because 18 is a historical level, I mentioned 18 on Twitter as well. So then you short it. So you short it all the way down, and that's why the traders in the community shorted all the way down. Now VIX started push to the high of the day. This is where the bounce came. You see, when you see this bouncing, you get out of the shorts. So we exited the shorts. Now I'm going to show you where we exited the shorts. I told the traders 512 curls, exit the shorts. You can see here the curls around 1:12:50 and 1 p.m. That's when I told the traders to exit it, and that you can play the longs there with 512 calls, right? So the morning longs, shorts, and third call. So three setups. There were three setups. So there was three setups today. And then what happened later? SPY QQQ held the clouds. It created a cup and handle. So this is what I created. I alerted everyone in the community. CNH. So CNH is a cup and handle. So what was that? Let's take a look here. So you see that. Let me show you guys here if you can't see that. So this was the handle which was being formed, right? So this was the handle which was being formed. And remember, we did not short. We stopped shorting right here. There was no short. So, and you can't size crazy. You have to size small, right? 561 to 564 and later squeeze end of the day to play these setups. I'm just showing you the setups. And let's say I'm going to show you here. I said SPY QQQ, C and H push, VIX back under 18. That means SPY QQQ is cup and handle. So that was a SPY QQQ long, and you can see that I showed my traders in the community as well. This is what I was pointing to. I told them, and it was breaking out, so that's the long you can trade again, but the long call was here, and this was a handle, and then there was a push, right? So these are the kind of technicals, and we have done this many hundred times. You can make easy scalps end of the day with these kind of chart patterns, cloud setups, VIX. So you use VIX, use the chart patterns, you use the clouds to trade SPY QQQ Nasdaq futures. Because if you see that since the clouds curled on the Nasdaq future, they went from the 512s and then created a cup. You could get back in here, cup and handle, and then it pushed to the MTFs on the futures as well. So you can use that. By the way, futures clouds are available on Ninja Trader. If you trade there, this is a great trade today on SPY QQQ Nasdaq futures. So remember, if you added anywhere here, it was a bad setup. If you do not add in the middle, you add closer to the clouds. 512s, rejection, shorts, 512 calls. Setup 1, setup 2, setup 3, right? So those were all the setups on SPY QQQ and Nasdaq futures, but this setup helped us to trade Tesla and NVIDIA. Let's take a look at those. All right, so let's take a look at the Tesla first. So Tesla was a high watch today. Let's take a look here, because Tesla was bouncing from 50 EMA on the daily chart. I have often told you, you can build a living on this setup. It's a 50 MTF Ripster clouds, 21 MTF on the top, right? So what was that? This was a magnet. This was a magnet setup. All right, let me just show you the screenshot, easier to show you. So you see that I told the trader it's the 512 curls. Once we saw this candle, 512 curls, stops under 328, you buy 329, or if you can buy early too, because you're seeing the bounce on QQQs. And I was on the voice, I told the traders some flow is coming in, ghost board alerted the flow. Now you get a nice push, 328, 329. I gave the target of 332s. You can see the target here. I did give the target of 333s as well. So what happened there? So we did push. We did hit our 333 target. So the long at 329 to 333, $4 per share profit, 1 risk, 3 reward. In the morning, if you're the option trade, you can always trade TSLA. That would give you a good return as well. But you have to focus. You have to focus on the plays what you want to trade on. My focus was Tesla and NVIDIA in the morning, and that's what I guided step by step to my traders. So if you want to look at 330s, you can see that in the morning, the 330 calls, they bounce from like $6 to $8, nothing crazy. But you have to understand is the lot options, so you stay closer to the money. If you look at 325s, they bounce as well from $8 to $11, high priced, but it's better. So you trade TSLL, because TSLL will give you a similar move. If you cannot trade the shares on Tesla, you trade TSLL, you buy 1190, 3,000 shares, you're risking, let's just say you're risking $600. By the time it's 12 or 20, you're making like $1,800 or 30-40 cents. So that's how you can trade these moves. So anyways, once Tesla broke here 512, I told the traders to exit Tesla. We exited, because we don't give up. When the system say exit, we exit, right? So our stops hit and we were out of it. So let's look at the next one. All right, so next one in the morning, there was a kind of our focus was NVIDIA. So NVIDIA was the same thing. It was initially long. It was a 512 long. I forgot to show you the guidance that we gave on in the pre-market on Tesla. Let's take a look if I can show you here. Yeah. So Tesla, you can see that the plan was under 50-55 MTF, bearish bias to short the MTF pops. That was our plan on Tesla. But we never got that pop on Tesla there to short it. Instead, we longed it. It was under 20-21 MTF. It was not under 50-51 MTF. But that was the magnet setup on Tesla. Now looking at NVIDIA, NVIDIA was a similar bounce when QQQ was bouncing. Again, it pushed into 34.50. So that's our resistance. That's always our target. When we longed it in the morning, we risked 169.50. That's what we risked. We longed it at right here around 170 plus. We pushed to 172.50. We got like a decent, almost we got, let's say here, almost $2 worth of move, but then it's a 10 a.m. so we have to take profit. Once it breaks 512, we exited, right? So you can see that 512 curl I gave on NVIDIA. I gave the stops 169.80. As NVIDIA moved up, we moved the stops up, and we hit our 170 250 target as well. And again, you could trade the leverage ETF on NVDL. And after that, when we exited, it was a nice short. You see that NVIDIA, you can see that I told the traders to exit out of NVIDIA. 10 a.m. I said, 10:10 I said out, and you had to get out of NVIDIA. And since you got out, you could short it as well, or you could short QQQ. We hit the MTFs. You could short it nice $3 short there as well. That was a NVIDIA long here. Target hit, short, then there was this call with QQQs. That's how you could trade Tesla and NVIDIA with the clouds. Nothing crazy range today, but system worked flawlessly. There was some I personally did not focus on too much. I kept the guidance pretty light today, but there was many good setups. For example, my favorite setup, gap and crap. So Pepsi doesn't usually make such a huge gap. So the news on Pepsi this morning was Elliott buys 4 billion on stake, and the Pepsi was holding the level, bullish to neutral bias, long over 157, air gap under 512. So air gap is basically the gap between 512 and 3450. That's what we call it, as an air gap. And then the next gap was the 1 hour MTF cloud. So once we break this level, it's a confirmed short, right? And we double topped at the pre-market highs. This is my repeatable setup. I teach you guys all the time. So as soon as I saw that breaking here, I told the traders gap and crap. The stops I gave 156. You short at 155. Even if you short at 144.50, your stops are 156. Then we started to move lower. As we started to move lower at 10:10, I told the traders to move stops lower to 154.50. Now, as you know, and most of my students know, then my setup, my first target is always 34.50. My Fibonacci's I draw from lows to the highs. Those were the targets. And then once it's not reclaiming, you hold the puts shorts all day long, and we hit the lower MTF. You can see timestamp guidance by step, RGV. Not a single time I told the traders to get out. And this was a short from 155, 150. You could get $4 to $5 per share profit if you risk $1. Even if you risk $1.50, you still made 3 times your risk. $1,000 risk, you're making 3,000. These are the kind of trades you want to do. You can pause the screen and see the timestamp guidance. The puts were a little illiquid, but still the puts went 300, 400%, $1,000 into 300%, right? If we lose 50%, but we're making 200, 300% trade. So that was Pepsi, guys. Step-by-step guidance, beautiful trade. You have seen me doing this 1,000 times. So next setup we traded was CRWV. So CRWV I gave the short to the community right at the open. You don't see that, but I mentioned on the voice that you shorted right at the open. I told the trader you can short the CRWV. Let's take a look here. So let's look at the pre-market planning on CRWV. Insiders selling the shares, bearish to neutral, call over 1 hour MTF if we push over 1 MTF. But it was never pushing over 1 hour MTF. Right, it was way lower than the 1 hour MTF. It was way lower. So as soon as I see the weakness under the pre-market lows, I told the traders to short it. Use the stop of 96.50. So let it pop and you short it. You see this 96.50 right here. Then it took little time. It kind of chop. Then at 10 a.m. came our bear flag right here. Started to break the bear flag. That's when I told the traders, short the bear flag, put the stops at 96, and you put the stops at 96. It faded all the way to $91. That was a beautiful $4 per share short. I was risking $1,000, was easy $2,500, $3,000 trade. If you were trading options, it did take a patience, right? But you see that we had a pre-market planning to trade it, and we followed our plan. So let's look at some puts here. We can look at 94 puts. You see 94 puts went from $2 to $5, 150% on the puts as well. Beautiful trade, CRWV. Let's go to the next one. All right, so let's look at CYTK. So CYTK was a nice setup because these biotechs, relatively low floaters, it usually give us good moves. So CYTK presents new data 43, 45 support, 46, 49 resistance, long only 43 holds, short under. So that was a pre-market guidance on that. But you see this, that how clean this level is. You see this level, 44.50. So I know if this level holds, we can call. And you see this level, there was some clean level here. If you lower level from right here, you can draw a level. You can see that we get a kind of support here at 46. And you can also see a downtrend line, right? So when you see a downtrend line and you see the curl, that is a good combo to go long. Downtrend line and a curl, good combo to go long. So that's when I told the traders 512 call long versus 45. So wherever you long, I don't care, you long 46, or you long right away, then you have a good entry, because then you can put your stops at 44 and move the stops up as you go higher. So I told the traders to call it long versus 45. The breakout is at 49. Then we started to move. I gave the trade at the curl. We pushed towards 49. The breakout happened, but it did not sustain. Then we pulled back again to the 512 clouds, held the clouds. Then we pulled back to 49 again. I gave the target to 50. If you see that, I gave the target way before. You had enough time to long this pullback, and there was a support here as well. And then we did hit 50. So you see that there's opportunity to make $4 per share profit on this trade. Even if you were late, there was $3 per share profit. Even if you have 500 shares, then you risk $600-700 and you made 1,500. If you had 1,000 shares, you risked $1,000 and you made 3,200 the profit. So you just need to watch your positions. I don't know how the options were on it, because usually they're illiquid. We were just focused on the shares, but you can see the timestamp guidance. You can see the Ripster cloud setups. Beautiful trade. Let's go to the next one. There were some decent relative strength setups. ULTA was good. I mentioned it on the voice. ULTA was our day 2 setup. Why? Because earnings were on the day 1. Earnings was on the day 1. So when the earnings is day 1, I do not forget about that stock. That stock is our day 2 setup. I teach again and again and again. And ULTA has a range. So I told the traders no long below 500 psychological level and daily MTF, long versus 500 if the 500 holds. So that was the plan on ULTA. Even before 500, because it dipped a little bit pre-market, you could long it right here. If you longed over 500, even then you could use this 494 stops, right? So you could use this 594 stops. I was on the voice. I told the traders it's looking good. And then it's again was MTF magnet setup. 50 MTF to 20 MTF. MTF to MTF. MTF magnet setups. MTF magnet setups. High probability trade. And you don't cut. If it's breaking out of the MTF clouds, you do not cut. So I gave the MTF targets to the traders. We hit the MTF and it continued to push over the MTF. And that was a beautiful trade. Even if you had it at 500s, it gave you $30 per share profit. You risk $600-700. Even on 100 shares, you could make $2,000 to $3,000. That's the kind of trade you want to do. Power of the MTF clouds, beautiful, beautiful. All the MTF clouds there, 50 MTF, 20 MTF, and 1 hour MTF. Amazing trade, but that's why you have to focus and be ready for the setup. So we did have PLTR. I was a little late. I could not guide earlier because I was focused on Tesla and other names. But PLTR, I'm so proud of my traders. They were already long on PLTR because PLTR, was bouncing from 150, right? So was bouncing over 150. PLTR 150 key level, our day 2 setup. So it was again with the cloud system. As soon as it reclaims 512, you see how clear the 150 level is right here. You long it by the long calls, by the shares, doesn't really matter. So how many times the 150 has held? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a big level for swing traders to use. 150 buy at 150, and once we push over 160, if markets stay strong, we'll see higher, but who knows what market's going to do. VIX is elevated, we'll see, but amazing trade by the traders on PLTR today. A lot of traders called it out in the community. They were all over PLTR. Very proud of these traders. Pretty nice setup, pretty good setup by the PLTR here. There were few other setups in the community. I was not early on it, but the traders in my community were already top of it. IREN. The reason I want to talk about IREN is we failed on Friday, we lost, but I said it's gonna try the breakout again soon. Will try the breakout again soon. Exactly what happened. Day 2, never forget day 2 setups. Never ever forget day 2 setups. 1 hour MTF clouds, long it here, back it tested the breakout again. Again it failed to break out. That's fine. But you can see that the traders got that setup. Now if it pushes over breakout tomorrow, then we are going to 35. So that's a beautiful trade in the community, IREN. Nicely done. Beautiful, beautiful setup for us here in the community. Just a special mention for Google. A lot of traders traded it after hours. Google had hit a very good news. And you see that we alerted the news in the community. The traders got long over the yesterday highs. That was a new long. You need to know how important the news is. I did say in the after hours, news is huge. We're gonna rip some more. And Google ran all the way, you know, to the highs. Other thing you need to note is that Google broke its all-time highs. When something breaks all-time highs like Google, we see higher, right? So once it broke out of its 215 all-time highs recently, there was no stopping Google. So looks like market already knew the result, and that's why it's already running into this. We'll see what it does tomorrow, but the support is 215 if it wants to pull back. But Google was a great trade by the traders in the community after hours. Thank you so much. Hopefully you learned. Take care. Bye bye.